Okay guys, we are back on our journey through Middle-earth with Middle-earth Monday. As you guys know, we are doing the quest for the ring bearer and obviously extending out to all the other engagements and kind of interactions that happen throughout that game. Last week, jumped the gun a little bit. We did the Gildor mission, we painted him up, but I forgot to do the ring wraith on the road model. So the special Games Workshop Forgeworld-esque model, Get Off the Road, the vignette they brought out, absolutely beautiful. It's a stunning piece. And I kind of just skipped on by it. I was meant to do it. It just kind of slipped my mind. So that's what I'm going to do this week and next week. We want to make this a two-parter because it's such an in-depth and detailed miniature. And I want to do it justice. I would love to feel so confident with this at the end of it that I could take it to like a painting competition and enter it in and not feel like I'm going to get laughed out of the place. Don't think I'll win anything, but you know what I mean. So the way I'm going to divide it down is in this week's video, I'm going to paint up all 4 of the hobbits that are hiding underneath that like tree branch. And then in next week's video, I'll do like the base scene and the Black Rider on top, and it should be all glorious. And I'm very excited to see how that looks. Before I get into the video though, as always, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone that's supporting me on my main channel, Mediocre Hobbies, and then of course the 2 side channels, which is Old World Wednesday and Middle Earth Monday. If you guys haven't already checked out the other channels, please do make sure you do that. Go and subscribe to them, help support and grow the channel. That would be fantastic. And don't forget to like this video and drop any comments if you have any questions or any suggestions and stuff like that. If you want to help support the channels even further, there is of course Patreon linked down below. There's a million reasons to get involved with Patreon. Extra videos, access to the podcast, access to the Discord, there's painting competitions, community showcases, and then of course there's giveaways that you guys love. And I love as well because I get to give back to you guys. So this month's Patreon giveaway is this, a 1000 Suns Battle Force box. So if anyone is out there who's interested in getting involved and getting started with a 1000 Suns army and wants to be in a chance of winning that, all you need to do is be signed up to the Patreon at any tier and you're in with a chance of winning. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's dive in and get working on these 4 Hobbit models. So this is the Get Off the Road diorama set. One of the things that I really loved about Lord of the Rings is they were fond of giving you dioramas, or back in the day they used to call them vignettes. I don't know the difference between a diorama and a vignette. If anybody does, let me know in the comments. But obviously some famous ones they did, like the Death of Gothmog, they had the Final Fate of the Witch King, they had Gimli sitting on the Dead Kai. Like there was all these incredible scenes and scenarios which existed for nothing more than just a beautiful thing to paint and add into your collection. And I love that. I love it so much. So I'm so happy that they have continued on that idea with this Get Off the Road set. Now I know it's been out for a couple of years and I know it's currently not available as far as I'm aware. I purchased mine in Warhammer World, or frankly it was purchased for me as a gift by the lovely Laura. So I don't know if it's like a Warhammer World exclusive these days or if it's just currently not available. I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's something that will be back at some point. It's so beautiful. They did a really nice job of allowing the on-horse the Black Rider to be a removable model to be used in games, which I really appreciate that. So I'm very happy with that. But obviously the 4 hobbits are set in, so they're sitting under that kind of wooden tree branch hiding for dear life. They're the first time they've really seen a threat ever in their entire lives is this moment. I can only imagine how all the kind of hairs would stand up on the back of their necks hearing that mounted knight step down from his horse and come straight up from that gauntlet, grabbed onto that tree branch. I think we all felt for the first time that these things are terrifying. Now, luckily in the design, they have made these guys removable for ease of paint, which I'm very, very grateful for. So I got them sprayed black and then a nice coat of grey cere, and then I went in and started throwing on all the base coats. Now, if you're looking for in-depth guides on how to paint the 4 hobbits, I have those as individual videos. So you can go back and look at how to paint Frodo and Sam and Merry and Pippin by themselves, the video. So I'm not going to go into every color used here because I'd just be repeating myself. And because there's so many random colors on these guys, it would take forever to name them all. Because the hobbits are actually a bit more colorful than you would think. You know, with Frodo having his red waistcoat, Merry has a yellow waistcoat, Pippin has green jacket. It's a whole host of different things. Sorry, Merry has a blue jacket. So just, yeah, go with it. Enjoy watching the models come together. Originally, I was going to paint this entire little piece for this video. That includes the ground texture and the leaves and the branches. But I decided the best thing I can do is not do that until next week. So I'll push this into place on the diorama and then I'll paint it all together so that I'll be able to match the ground coverage and match the tree branches and you know, otherwise I'm afraid that I'll paint this up now. It won't match the thing I paint next week. I'll put them together and then I'll be upset. So I'll do my best to show you in detail how I do that next week. Someone asked me very kindly when I did another video on vignette stuff and I talked about vignette stuff when I showed off my collection of Lord of the Rings. Is there any vignettes that you wish existed that don't currently exist? And there's a couple that I think will be really cool. I think you could do one with some of the Helm's Deep steps and have Legolas kind of skateboarding down that on the Uruk-hai shield, firing his bow. We all remember the first time we saw that in cinemas, and it was such a cool scene. And I think that'd make a really interesting and funny diorama. I'm here for that. Funnily enough, a random one that I'd like to see is Gimli blowing the horn of Helm Hammerhand from, obviously they couldn't have him right out with them. So he went up and blew the big awesome horn. I think that would be a really cool diorama. I often think about that scene as well. Like Theoden, Aragorn, Legolas, they rode out to their deaths. That was the idea. They would ride out, kill as many Uruk-hai as humanly possible, and then they would die. But Gimli was up in that tower. So he would just be standing there at the top watching his friends get butchered and then hearing the armoured feet of Uruk-hai coming up those spiral steps to him. And I honestly wonder how long it would take them to take down Gimli. You've got Gimli standing at the top of that staircase and only one Uruk-hai can come up in a straight line at him. Man, he might take out all whatever was left. Never, you know, count out a dwarf. Anyway, back to the awesomeness that is this vignette. As you can see, the colours are really starting to come together on the models now. We've obviously gotten all of our base coats on. We've gotten our shade on. I threw a sepia across the entire thing to pull all those tones kind of slightly closer together. Didn't bother painting the backpacks, but pots and pans or anything like that, because they're going to be completely invisible when you actually glue the model into the scene. So I didn't waste my time. Maybe other people will bother doing that. It's the kind of thing of like, you know, painting the interior of a tank and then gluing the hatches shut. It seems just a bit of a waste of time to me. And eventually I was only going to originally do kind of one highlight on all the parts, but the model was then still looking kind of a little bit duller than I wanted it to. So in the end, I decided to push all those details one step further. I was working off a wet palette, so I had all of those kind of mid-tones already on my palette. And as I was working with this color here, which was just an Ulthuan Grey for highlighting all of their shirts, I just started mixing the Ulthuan Grey on the palette into all the other base coats. So all the tones would still kind of match a little bit, but obviously it would pump those colors up. And then I went and re-highlighted everything else, giving me a much sharper result. And then I got to go in with their Morghast Bone and Xandri Dust for the blonde hair on Merry and Sam's head, and obviously their little hairy feet got painted the same. This new blonde color scheme that I've been playing around with for the last while, like I said, Morghast Bone and Xandri Dust as the highlights, it just seems to work really well. I think it looks really cool. Even the example that they have on the website of Mary's hair, it's so yellow, like it's yellow. And I don't think that is a good representation of what like sandy blonde hair is like the sun yellow. So I think mine actually looks a little bit better. Now I'll spend an inordinate amount of time highlighting all the skin because I need that to be done correctly and properly. So even though we've already done a base coat and a shade, we actually went back in with like a mid-tone, and then we went in with Berserker Blood Shade to kind of put some real warmth into it. And then a really bright kind of Kislev flesh, and we very carefully went in on the, kind of the nose and the cheeks and knuckles and little toes, and a little bit of highlight across the shins, which obviously I love painting faces, so I took my time and I really made those kind of details pop. Because obviously when you look at this vignette, you're going to focus in on the hobbits, you're going to see the bright colors on all their clothes, and then you will see all that extra detail on the skin pop and look really nice. And here we have it. This is the 4 finished hobbits ready to be clicked into the diorama. Obviously the diorama still has to be painted, but we'll get to that. And as you can see, I think they look really colorful. I think they're really nicely painted. Like, I'm happy with the result that I've achieved so far. And you can see the amount of painting that still has to go into this diorama, but you can see how nice they look in there. I'm really pleased with this, guys. I love it so much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this. You're excited to see next week's video where I paint the entire rest of this vignette. get it all finished up on my shelf, and then I'll actually have another ring wraith as well to use in some future scenarios. We have 2 weeks of this, and then we are going on to the Buckleberry Ferry scenario, where I'm testing out printing river sections and everything already, so you'll see that very, very soon.